And recently I was here for the press skits, which allow you to see how other people see you. And I was disturbed that I sat through a 2-hour performance during the press skits, and I did not see one African American member of the House portrayed in the press skits. And I wondered, how do you not see a whole group of people? And sometimes we don't see and we don't know that we don't see. And that experience reminded me of the book by Ralph Ellison called The Invisible Man. And it focuses on how you can be present but not seen. And when I raised this issue with someone, I was told that the purpose of the skits was comedy, not inclusion. Well, we talk about the strength of our state being diversity. And there is a difference between diversity and inclusion. You have to consciously work to include. People at home sometimes ask me if I feel I've made a difference in the 6 years that I've been here. Well, I got some bills passed when Nick Thompson was here. Community budget item requests, known as CBERS, were discontinued shortly after my election, so I've had no member projects. But I have fought successfully to keep a few things like the College Reach Out program, the African American History Task Force, and the Office of Supplier Diversity in the budget. And I introduced a bill once that required transit authorities in Florida to schedule bathroom breaks for drivers. A computer calculated how long it would take to get from point A to point B, and in a 4 to 6 hour shift, the drivers didn't have a bathroom break. Well, the bill didn't pass, but the transit authorities changed their method and allowed bathroom breaks. So it's not always about the legislation. I also introduced a bill that would regulate the amount of cadmium that you could put in a child's toy. Cadmium has been found to be a carcinogenic, and it retards brain development. That bill didn't pass, but stores voluntarily removed the toys from their shelves. But more than anything, members, no matter where I am, a focus on how we relate to each other is always at the top of my agenda. In the movie Avatar, one of the most memorable lines for me was when two of the major characters looked at each other and one said, "I see you," and the other responded, "I see you." And as a former member of the Florida Commission on Human Relations, I think it's important for us to see people who are different from us. And so I have worked to help us see the people who tend our lawns and make the beds and serve the foods, the migrant workers who came to speak here in this house, who were treated with great dignity and respect by Representative Dorothy Huckel. Representative Louis Garcia spoke, filled out a public appearance card, and wore his passport around his neck so that people could see him. In discussions on insurance, Representative Evan Jenny, who's never met an insurance bill that he liked, described restricting a person's choice of medical care as very Romney-ish. So I've expanded my vocabulary. I've added the word Romney-ish. And I sent Representative Bullard a Christmas card that he said was very Huxtable-ish. So they have new words, and he teaches in this chamber every day. But we have history, and history makes a difference. And the time when you were born influences what you understand. And that became clear to me when I injured my foot once, and I came home and I told my children that people were laughing and calling me Chester. And they said, "Who's Chester? Why would anybody call you Chester?" Because they didn't live during the Gunsmoke, Marshall Dillon, and Miss Kitty days, so they had no idea about Chester. So we've talked about a lot of things in this chamber, and I think I brought a different perspective to our discourse, which has allowed me to talk to the speaker about the term paper his son wrote on Harriet Tubman. And he and I talked about the time that she spent in Florida as a nurse and a spy with the Union Army near Fernandina. And we're talking about celebrating her time in Florida. Representatives Rogers and Rousson are working to help me on that. I spoke with another member about the book and the movie, The Help, and he told me how important the woman who worked for his family and who raised him was in his life, and how much she means to him even now. And so it has made us comfortable relating to each other on that level. And so if I have done nothing else in terms of what I have brought to this chamber, I hope that it has been to help us see our history and how it makes us who we are. And I've been toughened up by Representative Saunders, Kreisman, and Waldman, who told me to take off my rose-colored glasses. And I learned not to leave voicemail messages for members who might send it to the press. I'm thinking about what's next in my career. And Representative Allen Williams introduced me. I was the keynote speaker for a citywide Martin Luther King holiday celebration here in Tallahassee. And he told the audience that when he hears me here, sometimes he thinks he's listening to Maya Angelou. And so maybe that's what next. Maybe I'll do voiceovers for Maya Angelou. But it is important to think about what's next. My husband and I recently went to see Gladys Knight without the Pips. But her brother, Bubba Knight, appeared, and he said when Gladys went solo, they didn't think about what was next. And he said to us, I just want you to know that it's hard out here on a Pip. So what's next for me in terms of my plan is service in the Senate, and I hope I will have an opportunity to do that. And I want to thank my family who has supported me and allowed me to be here and to do that. And please recognize over here in this chamber my husband, Senior Judge of the 5th District Court of Appeal, the Honorable Emerson R. Thompson, Jr. My daughter, Larice Thomas. Larice, please stand. I live with Larice when I'm here in Tallahassee. She is my personal shopper. So those of you who admire my clothing, thank Larice. She likes to cook and I like to eat, so we get along real well. And my granddaughter, Jasmine James. Jasmine. Jasmine is a graduate of the University of Florida, just received a master's from Florida A&M University, and is on her way to law school. Representative Pafford, I enjoyed co-sponsoring the bill that hopefully will allow us to reverse some of the voting bills that were passed here, and I think that that is our responsibility. I believe, members, that we are all part of a great continuum from everlasting to everlasting. And our speaker says it differently when he says to us, we're all just passing through. And on my journey, you have allowed me to be a part of your life, and you have been a part of mine. During my first 3 years, my aide was Kenneth Pratt, who was with me from the beginning for 3 years. My aide now, Landra Roberson. Landra, please stand. And we have some interns who are working with us this year: Leilani Graham, Kenya Chevalier, Brandy Durham, and Genesis Robinson. Would you all please stand? So on my journey, as I have passed through, you have had an impact on my life, and I hope in some small way I have had an impact on yours. When you leave and you talk with people later, and you say that Representative Geraldine Thompson gave her farewell speech, and they'll ask you, well, what did she say? You may not remember anything that I've said, but tell them she had us clapping and sitting on the edge of our seat. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Read the next bill.
By economic